Big day here in Washington. Many of the people involved in the GameStop Robinhood saga are coming to Capitol Hill in order to testify. And one of those people is Reddit user Keith Gill, aka Roaring Kitty, and another username that I won't use here. He released some of his testimony yesterday, and some of it is quite incredible. But first, let's just discuss the general optics of this, Krystal. We have Robinhood CEO Vlad Tenev, Melvin Capital CEO Gabe Plotkin, both two billionaires, another billionaire, Citadel CEO Ken Griffin, and then Keith Gill. So in terms of the witness lineup, it was just very much like just a guy energy, because they had titles next to all of their names, and it was just like Mr. Keith Gill, who is a Reddit user, appearing before Congress. And I feel kind of conflicted about all of this, because it seems very clear that what bears scrutiny is Robinhood, Melvin Capital, Citadel. First of all, Citadel and Melvin Capital's outrageous short positions, which look probably completely legal, but there should be some regulatory scrutiny there. Of course, Vlad Tenev needs to answer definitively on the record and under oath as to whether he's received instructions from other brokers in order to shut down all of this. But why is this Reddit user, who by all accounts was just simply a guy online making YouTube videos being like, hey, here's something I've discovered, using his own professional know-how and sharing it the world, being called and accused of market manipulation? And Keith actually explained a little bit of this in some of the testimony he released. Kind of amazing. He actually even said, quote, "I like the stock," in his prepared testimony before the U.S. Congress, meaning it will be etched into the congressional record. But what I find most interesting there is he describes his his research, what he, how he came to the position that he had almost like months before any of this even took off. And he's like, look, I did this. I shared my views, and I made it very clear that, these are risky bets and you should not take this as financial advice and more. But now he's actually being sued in a class action lawsuit by one of those law firms, which is, has a terrible reputation for going after these types of things, saying that he hid the fact that he was a licensed security broker. I think he worked at some mass mutual fund or whatever. He's some young guy. Yeah, he's obviously has a securities background, but I mean, you look at him and you saw, if you've watched any of his YouTube videos, he was just sharing, information in the same way that many people do. So I don't know. I'm conflicted about the fact that he is being dragged before Congress.
Yeah.
It just seems so clear to me. I mean, this is just a person who made an outrageously good bet and is, in many ways, being punished for it. His name is now public. He's being dragged before Congress and being likened next to, the Robinhood CEO, the Melvin Capital CEO, and others on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to make him into some criminal mastermind.
Yeah,
and he points out too that, look, back as recently as Christmas. Okay, so just months ago, he had 500 followers on Twitter and 500 subs on YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay. So they in the suit they're like, oh, his legions of fans. And he's like, nobody was listening to me until weeks ago. So what are you talking about here? I mean, look, the bigger picture, if we zoom out from all of this, and if you read through his testimony, he clearly feels very defensive about I need to advocate for myself. I need to defend myself here. He's feeling under a lot of pressure, both from Congress and also from this lawsuit. I'm sure the big guys, they're not feeling any pressure. They're not worried. They're perfectly fine.
They have former SEC people prepping them. They have multi-million-dollar consultants and
they've
lawyers.
Got campaign contributions flowing through, the campaign coffers of all these people who they're dealing with in Congress. I shouldn't say all, but a healthy proportion. They certainly have influence and access that Mr. Gill does not. But even one step from that, the people who actually need scrutiny here are probably Congress.
Of course.
Because
you guys let this system
You're
happen.
the ones who architected this system and said that all this crap is legal.
I know.
The fact of the matter is the hedge funds that were short on GameStop to 150% of the stock value, that's all unfortunately legal. And so Congress needs to look at themselves and consider where they dropped the ball and allowed this system in all of its horror and rigging to exist. you guys are the ones who need to be looking at yourselves.
And I was really pissed off because I was reading about this in the Times, and it's like they work for Melvin Capital or something. The second paragraph, statement made no mention Mr. Gill was a registered securities broker, chartered financial analyst while he was posting online. And then they continue in here. He also did not mention securities regulators are investigating whether he violated the rules with his social media postings. They are listing these litany of accusations against him in a straight news story. And all of it is just written in such an accusatory manner. Again, I mean, find me a Times article which blasts Gabe Plotkin for taking this multi-billion-dollar bet on GameStop, by the way, which is a fine company, and they were betting and trying to drive it into the ground just to destroy it in order to make money. Same thing with Citadel, who buys the order flow from Robinhood, not to mention Robinhood, who sells all of our data, to many of these people. Not one word in the Times. It just goes to show you how if you dare do something, again, purely of his own volition, clearly he made a good bet and it paid off tremendously for him. Good for Keith. And the rest of these people, I mean, even at his height, how much did he make? $22 million? Gabe Plotkin pisses that away in like a single day. The guy lost like $500 million, doesn't even care, because he made so many billions in the last couple of years. It's outrageous to me the way he is being treated.
Clearly his crime is, gaming them, beating them at their own rigged game as just an ordinary person, and that cannot be allowed.
Yeah.
And that's really the thing that they're most upset about.
Yep, I stand with Keith. I hope some of you do too. All right.
More Rising for you after this.